Anaheim Ducks 4, Edmonton Oilers 3. Welcome back to the day after reaction. Myself, Waz. We've got Zach Lang. Welcome back, sir. It's been a while since we've had you on here. Now, quickly, Zach, before we get into the reaction of last night's game, um, the Oilers signed a defenseman, Jason Mraz, to a 1-year contract.
Yeah, they did. Was a bit of an interesting move from the team. Jason Demers came to Oilers training camp on a professional tryout. It didn't quite work out with him on the big club, but they sent him down to the Bakersfield Condors, and he's played 24 games down there to start the year. He's got 9 points in those games, and I think it's just a move to kind of give the guy a little bit of a stick tap for kind of gutting it out for the franchise. The Oilers are now at 44 contracts out of the 50 limit, 50 max. So they have a little bit of wiggle room to play with here, and I don't mind them, signing a depth guy like this.
Mm-hmm. Now get into the game. Oilers lose to the Anaheim Ducks in regulation, and that was just one of those head scratchers of a game. I would say that to lose to the 31st team in the NHL, it's just not a good look for the Oilers, no matter what way you put it. Can you just overall thoughts on the game?
Well, it was a frustrating game. You think back to Thursday and the way the Oilers got robbed against St. Louis. I really thought that the Oilers were going to come out and really want to take it to the Anaheim Ducks here. I expected the Oilers top line to have a multi-goal performance. I thought that, Connor McDavid would come into this game a little bit pissed off after what happened on Thursday and really kind of lay down a beating on the Anaheim Ducks here. And it just didn't really happen in the way that I think anybody envisioned it. I think the start to the game was good. It was good to see Darnell Nurse get on the board 5 minutes into the game, especially after the blunders that he had on Thursday night. But it was just kind of a comedy of errors after that, right? Nurse had a couple more mistakes. Evan Bouchard had a bad turnover to Stuart Skinner, didn't really see a lot of pucks, and he kind of admitted that it was a little bit tough for him last night and that he could have probably bailed out Evan Bouchard on a couple of those goals as well. You like the push from the team late in the third period, but at that point, it's too little too late. They really could have played that style of game through the entirety of the game and maybe had been looking at a much different outcome last night.
100% agree with you. It just, for me, it was, yeah, like I said, like it's kind of inexcusable to lose a game. Like, it's vital points here in the Pacific Division for the Oilers. They're kind of looking at wild card spot area. I think the one question we'll keep this day after reaction short. I think the one question for you I have is, how much criticism does Jay Woodcroft? How much can you criticize him right now here? I'm not saying, oh, fire the coach, fire the coach. I think that's a bit of an extreme. We're not going to fire it. We don't want Jay Woodcroft fired, but how much criticism do you think he's at fault here for?
Well, I think some of it definitely starts to fall back on him at some point, right? I mean, you look at the way that Darnell Nurse has struggled and Evan Bouchard has struggled this year. I think for Darnell Nurse, it's more critical of the mistakes that he's making, the errors that he's making. He's being paid over $9 million this year on the first year of his brand new long-term contract. Evan Bouchard's a guy who's still on his entry-level deal. The value that you're getting out of Evan Bouchard triumphs that of Darnell Nurse greatly at this point in time. But at the end of the day, it's up to the coaching staff too to get the most out of these players, right? I've got some questions about the deployment of the players, the deployment of the forward lines, the way some of these line combinations and defensive pairings are set right now. At the end of the day, the Oilers have still had some success as of late. They're still in the picture. Thankfully, teams like Vancouver and Calgary have really, really struggled this year. It gives the Oilers a little bit more of a cushion in the Pacific Division. But at the end of the day, we're almost halfway through this season, and that's almost hard to believe at this point. It feels like it's kind of flown by in the slowest way possible. The honeymoon phase with Jay Woodcroft's over. I think that much has become very apparent at the start of this season here. But at the end of the day, it does fall back on the coaching staff at some point for them to be getting the most out of their players.
I 100% agree with you. And like I said, we are not saying fire Jay Woodcroft. I think that would be foolish, especially with how he came into Edmonton. I think there's parts of his coaching that could be worked on right now, some adjustments. And I think you could say that about any coach in the NHL, honestly. No coach is perfect. I like Jay Woodcroft. I don't think he should be fired at all. I think that'd be ridiculous because I know what people are going to say. Oh, you're criticizing the coach already. Oh, you think you should be fired. No. It's just there's things that he could change.
Absolutely. And I think, especially in this market, people are quick to say, fire the coach, right? It's just almost like a knee jerk reaction at this point, over the way the things have transpired for this organization in the last 12 or 15 years here. I think Jay Woodcroft's a really good coach. He's still a really young coach, no matter the wealth of experience that he's had at the NHL level or at the American League level previously. Being a head coach in the NHL is a completely different thing than being an assistant coach.
Mm-hmm.
So he's still learning the ropes, right? Dave Manson, this is his first gig in the NHL too, right? Mark Stewart, the Oilers assistant coach, right? He's a former player. This is his first time as a guy behind a bench in the NHL as well, right? So it's still a young team. It's still a young coaching staff. I think this is still a very talented team and a talented roster who've been kind of trying to navigate their way through a bunch of injuries. Like, don't forget the things that this Oilers team has faced was, right? Evander Kane, Warren Fogle, Ryan McLeod, Kyler Yamamoto. These guys have missed significant chunks of this season early on. And as it stands right now, the Oilers are 17-14-1, and they're sitting in the top wildcard spot heading into Sunday's games here. This team is still in a great spot, and they're going to get reinforcements at some point. Are games like this against Anaheim frustrating? Of course they are, right? This is an Anaheim Ducks team that, as you mentioned, is one of the worst teams in the entire NHL. This should be an easy 2 points for this club. But at the end of the day, you know what? They're fighting right now. They're struggling to get by. There's some weird lines. There's some weird deployment. But at some point in time, everybody's going to start getting healthier and, really add a boost, I think, to this roster as a whole.
I like the optimism there, Zach. It's perfectly. I think that's what we all need right now. Can't be always doom and gloom. Can't be always pessimistic. And honestly, I think that's a wrap for the day after the reaction here with myself, Waz, and Zach. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Head to OilersNation.com for some fantastic articles. Just recently, Black Dog Pat wrote something about the eye test. Beautiful article. Thank you for tuning in. Take care.